My wife and I have decided to separate following our last heated argument, and I am scared, depressed, and my heart is racing. As I have no one to really confide in, I am using this forum as a place to get my thoughts and feelings out. Please be kind. We married 13 years ago and dated for a year before I proposed. We now have 2 children that are still in grade school. There were so many things that aligned for us. We were, and still are, professionals in our respective fields. Our outlooks and perspective on finances aligned. We were physically attracted to each other and enjoyed being with each other. I had mentioned when we were dating that I would have been okay without kids, but if I were to have them, it would be with her. A bit of history. Growing up, my mother always made sure the house was well maintained, we had a healthy diet, and we had a close group of family friends that we saw very regularly. My mother was always my emotional support when I was growing up. To be fair, our family did have its share of problems. My wife's family also had a close-knit community, but there were also some very distinct differences, including her family's need to save everything. Stack of old papers, mail, etc. Like her parents, she is prone to hoarding old magazines and struggled with letting go of old items that were no longer of value. I inherited my mother's penchant for keeping a clean house. And do my best to keep our house clean, at least those parts that I am allowed to manage. I always spend 20 to 40 minutes making sure the first floor is reset for the next day. When I was single/dating, friends would comment on how well kept my place looked. To the relationship. When dating my now wife, a few things struck me as minor issues: cleanliness, ability to complete things once started, that I would be able to overlook. To be fair, she could probably say the same. Over the course of our marriage, we have had some very heated arguments about the boxes that are always in our hallways. Unfortunately for me, my OCD nature with cleanliness and organization keeps me feeling anxious/annoyed/angry every time I walk around our second floor, to the point that I don't like being in any of the bedrooms where there are also boxes collected. I have struggled to cope with this, and while she continues to work on this, it's been an issue for as long as we have been married. And I am not allowed to touch all these boxes, primarily of clothes, given her sorting process. We also have a bunch of boxes that could be donated that is difficult to commit to donating as it remains a work in progress. All of our arguments seem to come back to this topic, becoming more heated each time we have argued. I have also argued about the little time that we make for each other. She will state that we rarely have intimate, true, it may be once every few months, and I will argue that she never has an inclination to go on a date with me. In the past several years, I can count on one hand the number of times she and I went on a date. And in every case I have been the one to set them up. While she will go, she will also indicate that she is exhausted from work, and that for her, just staying at home would be ideal, which ultimately sucks the fun out of going out with her. It has been a difficult spot for me because she does work extremely hard, 70+ HRS a week including some weekends, so I genuinely get that she is tired. Unfortunately, and perhaps selfishly, I feel like she prioritizes her work above her family. A few other issues that have arisen for me include never inviting any friends over to our place, and as a result no one invites us to their place either. Feeling the need to always ask for permission on anything/everything. Feeling that I have lost my ability to do what I want. She will state that she has never stopped me from doing anything, but I still feel the need to ask lest I get chastised for something that I did or did not do. I do this even before I start home improvement projects, just in case she will need me for anything. I can go on regarding our different perspectives, e.g. junk food in the house, how we interact with our children, playing on their level, etc. I ultimately feel that I am going to regret where I have found myself now, and am extremely worried about how this will scar my children. Is heartbreaking. They don't deserve any of what we are doing to them. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. I am really not sure who else to talk to, and I already tried therapy. Am I being unreasonable? Short-sighted? Petty? Justified? What do you think? Comment. I think the issue could be with her working hours. She can't function working 70 hours a week. Those are horrendous hours, and that's taking a toll on everything. Any chance she could cut her hours down? That literally makes no sense. No employer would expect someone to still work 70 hours a week after they go part-time. Her working 70 hours a week is the root of all your issues. A normal human can't function working that much, at least not in the long term. You're expecting all these things of her, but she must be running on empty. Before moving to divorce, Why don't you both take a step back and start by figuring out a more reasonable work situation for her? Right now, you're watching your spouse literally plow their mental and physical health into the ground with work while you layer on all these expectations she clearly doesn't have the time or capacity to meet given her current work schedule. If she's not willing to change her working hours, then I think divorce is fair game. You both sound like you need individual counseling and marriage counseling. If neither of you are happy and you're just coasting along, it would probably be better to separate and learn to co-parent effectively. I don't know how either of you are parenting when the majority of your time is spent at work. You may need a many if you don't have one already. I hope that the kids' needs are being met. You both need to work as hard on your marriage as you do on your job. The house should be maintained in a way that both of you are comfortable living in. I don't know how these other commenters are missing that you are talking about a hoarder and not common untidiness. It's not okay to let your children get used to it. You can't invite people over and neither can they. You all need a family vacation and a couple's vacation at the least. You all need to feel like you're seen and heard. Please don't let this continue until your marriage and family breaks down completely. If your wife doesn't see a problem here, then that's a problem in and of itself. I hope you both will work on it together. Having grown up with a mother who was a hoarder, it's caused me to struggle as well. It's only been in the past couple years that I have finally gotten to a point where I can, mostly, maintain an orderly house, and I'm 46. Your kids may wind up with issues if something doesn't give. Your wife needs counseling to be able to reach a point where she is okay letting go of things that aren't needed. Containing the boxes to one single room is a completely reasonable compromise, and she needs to respect that. It's your home too, and you deserve to feel comfortable there. I'm sorry that things have reached this point. A separation might be useful to clarify what each of you want. I wish you the best. It seems like you and your wife needs a break from work, at least her, like a vacation. And maybe you guys can dedicate one room for her stuff only. So that all of it is one room and not everywhere in the house, and that she would feel that she has her own space. About the feeling of needing so ask permission, I feel like that's every relationship. Anything that you would do that affects her or your family are needed to be discussed before even doing it. That's just how a relationship works. For friends. I don't know. Maybe you're different, but she probably never invited anybody back. As you stated, she's always tired. Honestly, she's probably so exhausted and tired of her work routine. She probably not even have time for herself. It sucks. Maybe you guys can talk about how she can minimize her work HRS. What is even the reason she works 70 plus? Is she the breadwinner? Can she not rely to you? Or are you guys in debt? Or is she just workaholic? Reading your post made me sad. It sounds as if you are leading separate lives, only intersecting with the children and the duties of a household. No intimate, no outings with friends or friends over, no dates, no true intimacy of any kind. It sounds truly awful. The clutter can cause depression. Perhaps that's an issue for you rather than OCD. It's hard to relax when everywhere you look is a heap that needs doing, but you can't. You both work a lot, and it sounds as if parenting/household duties are shared, but there's more to that in a marriage. I'm concerned as to what your children are learning from their observation of this relationship. They need to be the priority here, and it sounds as if you see that. Story 2. My husband told me he loves me for the first time after 10 years of marriage, and the reason he never did broke my heart. We come from a culture where arranged marriages are normal and acceptable. In our case, we also had an arranged marriage and we got along well from the beginning, so we decided to get married. And the truth is that we always had a great relationship. He is my best friend, we have incredible chemistry in every way, he is an amazing father, and basically he has everything I like in a man, so I ended up falling in love with him, and he knows, but he never said I love you back. And at first I pretended I didn't care, but a few weeks ago I couldn't pretend. It didn't hurt me not to get those words from him. To put some context, last month we went on a trip while my mom stayed with our children, and the truth is that I didn't enjoy those days at all, because most of them I was thinking about what I'm doing wrong. It's not that he is cold or something like that, because he is a person who likes to hug me or kiss me at any time. He tells me countless times that I'm pretty or that I'm the best thing that ever happened to him, etc. He basically always shows me affection, but it wasn't enough for me anymore. On one of those days we went to a very nice restaurant for dinner, and I thanked him and told him that I love him, again, and he just hugged me and said something like I deserved even more, and that phrase was really sweet, but I wanted to hear something else, and his lack of response made me feel different for the first time. It made me feel humiliated. I don't know how to explain it, but I started to distance myself from him. And he noticed and asked me why I was acting strange, if he did something wrong, and when I tried to lie he told me that he knew something was wrong but he didn't know what. So after he insisted for several days, I told him that I felt humiliated by having that one-sided love, that it hurt me that he never told me that he loves me, and I asked him directly if he even loves me and he said yes. So I asked him why he never told me, and he says that no one ever told him that they loved him and that he doesn't feel comfortable saying those words. That the first time someone said I love you to him was when I told him, and he didn't know what to respond because it made him feel weird. We talked a lot about it and he told me that his father doesn't think that saying those words is okay because it makes you look weak, that in his house no one ever said I love you, not even his mother, and the only time he said I love you to his dad he beat him up, so he never said it again. That he likes feeling loved but that he also feels weird every time someone says those words, and I know it's true because when I or our children tell him that we love him he blushes and gets tense. In all these years he has only said I love you to our children and it was difficult for him to do so. He apologized for never telling me that he loves me with words, but that he did what he could to make me feel loved through his actions, and told me that from then on he will try to say it more often. And he does it. He tells me that he loves me quite often, but when he does I know that he is struggling with something inside that has nothing to do with me, and it breaks my heart that I can't do anything to help him. I told him that if it makes him uncomfortable I don't care if he doesn't say it, but he insisted that he wants to tell me I love you, but I don't know if he'll ever be able to say it without getting tense. I have read a lot about what to do in these cases and apparently the only solution is therapy, but for him therapy is unnecessary and useless, so I don't know what to do. How can I help him? What is the right way to help a person who never felt loved without making them feel like you are doing it out of pity? Comment. Agreed. My mom had to teach my dad to give us a kiss on the head to show us love. He didn't know how to say anything or show us anything else. He never learned it elsewhere. It's his one learned action, but it means everything. I think the safety thing is paramount here. It may be helpful to let it be a non-event, like demonstrating it's not a big deal when he says it. Like try not to get emotional or watch his reaction or initiate a kiss or hug after, at least for a bit. It's just I love you too while carrying on doing what you're doing. Don't even look up or otherwise acknowledge it. Just my opinion. May not be the right thing, I don't know him or you, but I feel like normalizing it may help him believe it's normal within his little flock and it isn't a big deal or something that needs attention drawn to it. This is going to sound like a cop-out, but just keep doing what you're doing. He's explained that he's most comfortable with actions. Continue to show him love through actions, and he'll get it. He'll try to show you love with words. Will it be hard for him? Sure. But he's trying, and that's what matters. There's a story I read a while back, wife wanting verbal confirmation of love and husband really uncomfortable with saying I love you. They worked out he could do 3 quick squeezes while they are holding hands and it would let her know it's what he wants to say. She was sharing that he now did this all the time, often in situations where talking is tricky, and she felt really connected and loved. I grew up with this concept between my grandma and I, and suggested it to my husband while we were dating as a way for him to get around using words, as they make him uncomfortable, too. Now, anything in a deliberate set of 3 is an I love you. It's excellent and is totally worth the effort. People have different love languages and that's what you need to focus on more than words. My father was brought up in a family that never said I love you. It was only after his father died that his mom told him she loved him. My father was in his 40s by then. My dad struggles to tell his kids he loves us, but he shows us all the time. And when we say I love you his response 9 out of 10 of the times is a hug, or if on the phone the response is ditto, or yeah me too. And yet I have never once doubted his love because his actions spoke louder than words. Just look at it this way. Many long-term relationships fall into a rut where even saying I love you isn't a big deal anymore. You on the other hand have somewhat of a gift. When your husband tells you I love you, you know it's a deep sincere feeling coming from his heart. Nothing throwaway about it. Just appreciate that he's willing to put off years of negative reinforcement to tell you. He can go to a therapist if he wants, but if he doesn't want, then I will give you a shortcut. What a therapist will tell him to do is to practice saying I love you. He has had traumatic past experiences with this and there is old conditioning. The way to change his conditioning is to add new experiences of saying I love you and not being punished for it. Just continue to be a safe person for him to practice with. Notice his tension, but just let it be without comment, and genuinely respond with love to his words. He can learn from new experiences. It would be good for him to practice with the kids too. Just saying I love you, letting the old feelings wash over him without fighting them, and doing it again and again. He is safe and loved now. What a blessing. Truly the best medicine.